Ladies and gentlemen, we are back after a small little intermittent break. Apologies for that. Um, we are back and we're gonna hopefully try again and hope that this time we get away with no issues on this one. So uh, we did see well, from what we saw in the first 5 or 6 minutes, we did see the fastest time was about a 1 minute 40, something like that. Um, I'm joined by Koala. What do you think the pole position time would be for this? What would you estimate it
Oh,
would be?
29.
Low 29, 11 seconds quicker.
I think the times that were coming in then were 30,
Yeah.
31s.
Was it 1 minute 30s? Oh, for some reason I said 1 minute 40. I think I'm still in Spa. Ignore me.
Yeah,
You think my brain would be working, but it's a Sunday.
I expect maybe Ephraim or Lucchesi maybe to pop in on low 29 to mid 29.
Yeah.
And if we have some really quick people, maybe a 28 as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We didn't see many drivers try the medium tires, which is what I thought they would, but um, it'll be interesting to see if anyone changes from that. Um,
Well, Lucchesi, you can see, has already elected to take a medium tyre for his first run. And the
yeah,
drivers that have taken mediums um, all look to be the faster of the drivers. So Lorenzo, very quick. Bumblebee, also very quick. And Lucchesi, probably one of the quickest drivers on outright speed
mm,
in this division. So it's looking like the stronger drivers are opting for a medium run.
absolutely. Getting a sense of deja vu here. Sprunky, much like the last in the first lobby, is back out first on the track for Aston Martin. But there's a lot more cars coming out this time now in comparison to previously. We've got a few trying the medium, so Lorenzo's on the medium size. I think he tried it before. Rick is also, oh no, apologies, he's on soft tyres. Um,
Chris is now, Chris and Craig have also elected to try a set of mediums as well. So this is looking like it could end up being maybe a 50-50 split eventually.
yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one because, of course, if you use the medium, you only get two sets of medium tyres to use across the weekend. So whatever you use now, if those mediums don't work, well, you've burnt a set for the race as well. So and we know, of course, just how powerful tire wear is on this track. So you don't want to be taking too much out of them. So those who are on the mediums might want to make sure they make the best use of it because you don't really want to waste them on this track.
No, and
Oh, Sprunky's
what
round. Apologies, and that
what
is
you've
right on the final corner as well. And thankfully, the Alpine gets well out of the way. But Sprunky, for the second consecutive time, having a moment. But no, go ahead. Sorry, apologies for interrupting you. Carry on.
what I've noticed is Lucchesi seems to wait very late into the session and
Mm.
leaves all the other drivers to do kind of the labour work here and clean up the track and rubber it in for him. And then he goes out with maybe 10 minutes to 5 minutes to go and he's using the best of that track, then it's already clean. So some of these better drivers do wait in the pits just to see if the track will be quicker 5 minutes later than it would be right now.
I suppose that the benefit is, in real life Formula One, you've got yellow flags, double yellow flags, and red flags for example. In a real life qualifying situation, if you left it to the last minute and suddenly there was red flags all over the place, you may not have even got a lap in. But I suppose the benefit on this game is you don't need to worry about things like that, and you can leave it as late as you want. But eventually, someone's got to go out, I suppose.
Yeah, and leaving it very late is kind of controversial because if you ruin your lap, that's it, you're done.
Mhm.
You start from the back. But a bigger one would be traffic management around this track. Everyone seems to have gone out in a bunch together, and that's left us with every driver nearly enough on a lap has got some form of dirty air.
Absolutely. So we do see the fastest time. It is a 1:30.6 by Tabo. We're just going through the list to see who he is now. I'm watching on board with Lorenzo, one of the medium runners. We did see an Aston Martin spinning on the exit of turn 6, and that looked like ISRL Chris on his outlap, perhaps. So, the Aston Martin's struggling for rear grip at the moment, it seems. Lorenzo goes 5th fastest, 132.6. So, they're not really building up to those laps, the medium runners, and that could be a worry, because, of course, you might want to start on the medium tyres, but track position is still very powerful on this track.
Yeah, and with drivers like Sprunky and Chris Butch, who are maybe a little bit slower on the soft tyres, they've not really utilised them soft tyres to the best. They need to be in the 30s, because eventually, once everyone does get free air, everyone will find time, and this track does have a lot of track improvement in qualifying.
Yeah, absolutely. Gallagher's just gone 10th quicker, I think, in the first sector, just at the fastest first sector of this in this qualifying session so far. Second in the championship, I believe. Or is he? I think he was, or at least I think he was. I could be 100% wrong with that, and indeed I am. I meant to say he was second in Spa. Looked like he could have won the race. Sadly, time penalties came into effect. I guess another thing to consider for the race as well is the power of the undercut. We mentioned as well just how powerful the tyre degradation is on this track. And we've seen how effective the undercut is here. How does the driver manage that, especially if you're leading the race and you've got a train of cars coming behind you? How do you manage that that threat of the undercut, I suppose?
All you can do as a leader of a Grand Prix to manage the threat of an undercut, because you can't tell what the guy behind you is going to do, you try and save one mega lap in them tyres. So if the guy behind you darts in, you just lay one solid quali lap down, hit, and hope for the best. Absolutely.
On board then with F1 Richie in the Ferrari, as I think there's another issue for one of the Aston Martins, and that's Sprunky again. And Sprunky, once again, for the second lobby restart, is out of this session. Hugely disappointing for Aston Martin at the moment.
Another way you can protect against a possible undercut is to build the gap. You need about 5 seconds to keep yourself out of undercut range. So if the guy behind you pits early and you've got a 4-second gap, you know over one lap you shouldn't lose 4 seconds. So then you know you can do that extra lap, pit, and still come out. It might be close, but you still have the lead. As Lucchesi has gone purple in Sector 1 and green in Sector 2.
Interesting. So Lucchesi, remember, is on the medium compound tyres as well. That works perfectly for him. If he can get pole position on these medium tyres, that's a great opportunity for him to race as well. And that would give him a lot of versatility as well. So he could pick between a 1 or a 2-stop strategy if he wanted to.
Yeah, if I was Lucchesi, I would have been hoping for top 10. But if I can get that thing somewhere on the front row on a set of mediums, that opens up a whole new weaponry.
I've seen these drivers are getting very cautious on the exit of the final corner. Lucchesi goes 7th fastest, a 1:31.8 for that lap. They are getting very. I've been watching a lot of drivers on that final corner. They're seeming very, very cautious at the moment, and I suppose with that threat of being invalidated on the final corner, it's
the hardest corner on the track. It makes or break your lap every lap. And with the sausage curb there, it's on the inside, it's so easy to spin. So that corner's best treated with a little bit of care.
Freefall goes 2nd fastest. He had a bit more confidence in that final corner, but still a half a second behind the lap time of Tabone at the moment, who's once again going for another lap. And he does go slightly quicker in the first sector, just over half a tenth quicker in that first sector.
The thing to note is the first sector here is really tricky. Really, really tricky. You can lose 2/10 or you can gain 2/10, and it can be a matter of feet.
Absolutely. It's such a prolonged corner, so it feels like it goes on forever, to be honest, as it just pivots to the right-hand side. And it's really important you take the correct angle as well, because if you go too tight into that corner, that just messes your entire Sector 1 up completely, and also the exit as well.
Yeah, going too tight or too wide in that corner can cost you half a second. And it can literally be 1.5 feet wide of where you want it to be. It's not a lot. And in racing terms, you normally say like you got a multi-line corner like that, but that is truly just one line to get the best time out of it.
Tabone has just increased his advantage at the top, goes a tenth quicker with a 1:30.5 for the moment.
I don't think that's going to be enough for pole position, personally.
No, and remember, with some still on the medium tyres, there's still a fair bit to go. We've got a yellow flag, and I think that's for a Haas. So that is always Rick. And we talked about the trickiness of that first corner, and as a prime example there, always Rick has just seemed to find that out, and that's on his outlap.
I know the difference between a set of mediums and a set of softs. Brand new is about 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds, and that puts Lucchesi on pole.
Absolutely. As we see, KTM Sweden's just gone second fastest.
There's an Aston Martin backwards in a runoff area, just before the very long corner onto the back straight.
Yeah, that looks like Galloway, I think, who's just had a moment. Galloway's, interestingly there, Galloway's come back out on medium tyres. Remember, in his first outing, he was on the soft tyres, but then abandoned his lap. So, 7 minutes to go. He's still not got a lap in at the moment. Speaking of drivers who haven't gone on, this is Mark coming through the final corner. Still yet to set a lap, as has Vex the Vexter as well. Coming through the final corner, goes 13th fastest for the time being. And there is the Alpine of Doomsray, who's had a moment on into one day. I'll remember these corners. That's turn 12, I think. Or is it 13?
Doomsday is really having a rough session here, and I don't want to bring up the 107% rule, but he's getting close to not being within it.
Absolutely. Still on those medium tyres as well, so he doesn't want to go on those soft tyres for the time being and heads back into the pits. We haven't seen Vex the Vexter yet. Galloway's returned back into the pits after his excursion. We haven't seen the second McLaren yet. We've lost Sprunky from the session. Aizen has invalidated his lap in the Alpine. Always Rick after his spin in turn 1, going for it on this occasion.
If I'm Lucchesi, I go for pole now. I'm about to fall outside of the top 10 and lose any advantage that I ever had from it. My main rival Lorenzo has just gone 4th on a set of softs. So if I'm Lucchesi, I now strap on a set of soft tyres and I go for pole position.
Yeah, always Rick has just improved his middle sector by half a second, so that will be interesting how he holds it in this final sector. But yeah, for Lucchesi, I mean, there's 5 minutes to go. If you leave it to the last minute, of course, you're running a lot of risk, but you'll be in the prime position in terms of where the track conditions are, I suppose. So you're playing with fire in that front. We do see Vex the Vexter finally
got the set of soft tyres on now in the pit lane.
Does indeed. Always Rick then, find the corner, goes 3rd fastest on 30.8. He might still, if he can get back into the pit lane, he might just have enough time to go for another lap. Yeah.
He would need to push this lap, pit, and not waste a very lot of time.
Absolutely. So, Lucchesi, I believe, is still waiting, probably is now waiting until the final closing stages of this lap. Next to Vexter coming down the final corner, still on his outlap for the moment. It's kilometre long back straight.
Lorenzo will get back to the pitch and will get another lap as well.
Interesting there. Vex the Vexter's just cut the hairpin completely in an attempt to probably and does return back into the pits. So Interesting call
Are
there.
these guys worried that they're not going to make it back round?
Potentially wanting another lap. So that is interesting there.
Free
And
fall starting a lap now, though.
yeah, interestingly, Gallo was back out on the medium tyres again. So
Yeah, Gallo was striking me as someone that's maybe not done a very lot of running this week on this track and still trying to learn it. So instead of throwing a valuable pair of soft tyres away learning, he wants to use their mediums just to do as many laps as possible.
yeah, I mean the mediums would also help with strategy. I suppose in some cases he might just refuse to want to go onto the soft tyres potentially. So we'll see. Freefall's first sector wasn't an improvement. Lost 800ths in that first sector. So we'll have to see a bit of time to make up in that middle and final sector then. As he comes through turn 9, has gone wide. Doesn't invalidate on there, and he has backed off on there. You can see the flashing red light there means he's harvesting electrical energy. Bumblebee then goes third fastest, joins his Mercedes teammate as the current provisional pole sitter, Tabone, comes straight back onto the track then. A 1:30.5.
Luchecki out with 2:30 to go.
Yeah, out he goes. And as you said, it is on soft tyres. So this will be interesting to see how this all plays out.
Lorenzo will go again as well, so there's quite a few drivers here that have got a chance to go again. It's going to be a very busy end to this session.
Absolutely. So,
and some of these guys are actually going to have to push to make the line.
2 minutes to go. I mean, yeah, they're going to have to, and they're going to have to gap themselves out. Remember, of course, they're all in a line together, and it might be great for the final kilometre long back straight and the pit straight. But when you go through the first and middle sector, you do not want to be seeing cars in front of you.
No, but Jesse's done it right. He's roughly middle-ish. He's about 4 or 5 cars in, so he shouldn't get too much traffic. But the people in the middle, like F1 Richie, like she's gonna be like traffic to someone on a good lap and get traffic on his good lap.
Absolutely. Right then, we're on board then with the current pole sitter. He'll be the first across to go out for a lap. I think there's a Williams as well going just ahead as well. But as they power through turns 1 and 2, this very long first and second corner, and powering through on exit into the hairpin of turn 6. Looks a very tidy lap at the moment. Sweeping through the corners of 7, 8. Got a yellow flag somewhere. That's a Ferrari, I think.
Luchecki a quarter of a second up in sector 1.
Absolutely. I missed Tabone's first sector. In the middle sector, and he hasn't improved in that middle sector. He's lost 2 tenths here, so at the moment, advantage Lucchesi. But this is not a good lap here for Tabone at the moment. It looked tidy.
This lap by Lucchesi has been little more than stunning. Half a second up into sector 2.
This is for effort for Tabone here. It is a very powerful final sector. Checkered flag is out, so no one else will improve after this run. Here comes Tabone then into the final corner. Doesn't take it too wide, doesn't invalidate, shortest distance of line, and doesn't improve. So it is for Lucchesi then in this final hairpin. There's another Ferrari that's spun again. Lucchesi then, final corner. Needs 1.4 seconds to improve, and I think he's backed off.
He wants to stay on the medium. So that was a flex of what I can do.
Well, giving up the track position, he'll start this race from 14th.
Pushing the wall in the last corner. Oh no!
Oh, Aston Martin having more troubles. That's such a shame for them. Lorenzo then, final corner then, Perfect exit out the corner. That is stunning. And goes second fastest. Misses out by a tenth. CJ Butch goes sixth fastest. And Rumpel Fujli will need to be going back to his pit crew and asking for a new front wing. But Tabone then on pole position by just over a tenth of a second.
Yeah, I don't know if Lucchesi had found enough time there to take pole position, and that was why he backed off, or I'm not too sure what had happened there.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, it's interesting to see. Regardless, though, well, he starts 15th now with all of these improvements. So, whilst he will have the tyre advantage per se, because he, of course, starting outside the top 10, you will have the choice of tyres. You do have that's a lot of work you've got to.
Position.
You've got a lot of work to do from there, though.
Yeah, and if I was starting a race, I would choose to be closer to the front than 15th. You're in a little bit of a contact zone there. If anyone makes a mistake, you're going to see it very late in and maybe not be able to react in time, and it really limits the information you get off a race start. So he's in a little bit of a danger zone there. You need to keep yourself clean to have any chance of winning this.
Well, for the championship leader, that's a lot of work to do. For the driver in second place, for Lorenzo, starting in second place, albeit starting on soft tyres, that's looking good. And interesting there to note, one of the Ferraris, Fujili, has got a 5-place grid penalty. So that's interesting. But that was
for contact with Galloway on the final run.
Ah, interesting. So your top 10 then, Tabone starting on pole for Williams, ahead of Lorenzo. It's the two Mercedes of KTM Sweden and Bumblebee, ahead of Rick for Haas, CJ Butch for Alfa Romeo, Freefall in 7th for McLaren, Sprunky in 8th. Fujili and Richie makes up the top 10, but Fujili will be dropping 5 places and will start from 14th on the grid. So, interesting then. That's an interesting qualifying session we have coming up.
A very unusual order. F1 Richie isn't up there as usual. So both Ferraris further down than we would normally expect.
Yeah.
And then you've got Lucchesi all the way down there as well. So bit of a shock qualifying that.
Yeah, Ferrari seems to struggle on that final run. We saw one without a front wing, and I can't remember which one it was. Apologies. And I don't know if the second one had a moment as well, but not a clean final run then for Ferrari. Aston Martin having a few struggles as well, but Mercedes at the moment, they tie in the championship lead with Red Bull. Great start for them, 3rd and 4th.
Yeah, Mercedes have had a really put together season, as well as Red Bull at times. So what we need to do now is really try and put a weekend together where all these drivers can get together and not have someone out of order, so we can really see who's got the A game. Definitely
indeed. Right then, onto the formation lap then, and as per usual, looking at the tyre strategies. So top 10, well, interestingly, remember top 9 are duty-bound start on the soft tyres, as is Fujli, who may be 14th, but remember he did get into the top 10 and must start on those soft tyres. And then you've got a fairly mixed strategy here. So Aizen and Chris also starting on the soft tyres. Everybody else is on mediums except Vex the Vexter on hard compound tyres. So that, in my opinion, screams a one-stop strategy from Vex the Vexter. But I suppose if a late safety car comes out and he hasn't pitted, there's an opportunity there. I suppose starting 17th, not much to lose either.
If I was Vector Vexter, I probably wouldn't have chosen the hard tyres, I'm not going to lie. this early on, this full of fuel, the hard tyres are going to be dripping slow.
Yeah. I suppose then the counteract is maybe well, you'd think, would you underfuel on this track? I wouldn't think so. The amount of fuel you burn on this track is significant. So you don't really want to burn you don't want to underfuel your car. You may make it lighter and help with tyre wear, but you can run out of fuel very quickly on this track.
I would have started on a medium, personally.
Yeah.
So at that point, you've got a better tyre than the softs, but you're not slow with the hards.
Yeah.
I'll try and stay away from the hards. They're not very good round here. They're very slow and they don't provide great race time. But let me be proven wrong by Vector and let him prove to me why the hard tyres should be used around this track.
This is why we're on commentary. But we are, as they approach through there, interestingly, Tabone very far ahead of the rest of the pack at the moment, so didn't back the pack back up, which is interesting. But we know, of course, the cars are automatically taken over before the pit lane. But that might be a few cooler tyres. And Galloway, interesting enough, kind of on his own in terms of where the pack is. So that's going to leave the grid on their own for a bit. Galloway only just making his way onto the back of the grid. Yeah,
let's just remind us that we've had more than 6 safety cars in the last 2 races. So anything really can happen here, guys.
Absolutely. Well, we're just waiting for the red lights to show themselves. We are almost underway for this Chinese Grand Prix. And we've got drive-through penalties already for Bumblebee and Rick. The lights are away and we are underway for round 4 of this Chinese Grand Prix. Great start there by Lorenzo. Takes the lead almost immediately. No real opportunity there. 3 wide going into turn 1 between the 2 Mercedes and the Aston Martin of Sprunky. There's an Alpine going off the track that looks, I think, Doomsray going off there and rejoining the track back in 15th place. But what a start there by Lorenzo. That is the perfect start for him. With his championship rival all the way down in 14th place. That is exactly what he needs.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't know what happened there with Bumblebee and Always Rick. They both jumped the start and didn't gain any positions. If anything, lost positions.
Absolutely, but so Lorenzo leads then from Tabone, then gap from Bumblebee, and then KTM Sweden. Sprunky ahead of CJ Butch. Always Rick, who's the second one with a drive-through penalty. Ahead of Freefall, Mark in 9th, Richie in 10th. Doomsray was dueling away there with Craigo for 11th. And Lucchesi has dropped, as there is an Alpha Tauri, and that looks like Mark in the barrier already. And I don't know if he just lost it on exit. Was there contact? But that is the worst way to start for Alpha Tauri. One driver down, thankfully not out, but that's front wing damage, and there is more contact as well. And who is that? That is a Alfa Romeo of CJ Butch, and that's both Alfa Romeos down in 16th and 17th now. And Always Rick already serving his drive-through penalty.
So Lucchesi's been bullied out of a place by Vector in the middle sector. It was rather forceful and kind of scared him out of the way, so it was a really dominant move by Vector of, I need to pass you, so I'm coming past now.
The lobby glitched then. I thought something happened to the race leader Lorenzo, but there he is, still leading this race then from Tabone. You may have seen the message saying DRS is enabled. It is not. That is the usual F1 lobby glitch. Still no DRS zone at the moment. Tabone keeping within that 1 second gap at the moment that's needed for it, and that will be available on the next lap. Bumblebee still ahead of his teammate, but remember he's got to pit at the end, at least at the end of the 3rd lap, unless he wants to be unless he wants to be disqualified. Sorry, Lucchesi up now currently into 12th place at the moment. I must admit though, Vector having a great start at the moment, up to 11th at the moment, albeit it might be 12th.
Really struggling with the rear end though.
He is indeed, and that will allow.
Doomsday off in the LP.
That's another
dropping all the way down to 15.
That's another moment. Lucchesi, well, I thought was going to make the move on Vexter, backs out of it. There.
And now he's got Asian looking down the inside of him, and he's got to be extra careful. He doesn't want to lose the championship lead to a half-assed move.
Absolutely. Whilst we've missed on that, Efretabone has just lost second place here. There goes Bumblebee, but I mean, it's a gallant move by Bumblebee, but remember, he's got to pit this lap for his drive-through penalty.
Yeah, and I don't think that's going to help him. He's going to fall a long way down this order, probably till last.
Absolutely. That's a huge disappointment for Mercedes. We talked about how they needed both cars in the points. Both Mercedes and Red Bull 114 points in the Constructors' Championship. And Bumblebee at the moment will drop down the field. Remember that he can't pit on that drive-through penalty. He can't change his tyres. So that's a half a minute penalty is the equivalent of that.
Yeah, for sure, and that's a really big penalty saying he didn't gain off that jump start, so really harsh on the Mercedes driver right there.
Absolutely. Bit of a glitch with the timing at the moment. And you can see that Lorenzo slightly weaving.
Lucchesi's now really stalled out behind Vexter. He's got DRS and he can have a look around the outside, but really not showing that he's got race-winning pace. He could be stuck here.
Lucchesi does get ahead of Vexter though, up into 10th place finally. And that's a crucial move. You don't want to be stuck behind the hard runner. As you said, Bumblebee does serve his drive-through penalty. There's a huge train coming through here. As there is Chris down the inside of Aizen. I thought he was going to go for it there, but Aizen runs wide. And the Aston Martin's having another look here. But the inside line goes to Aizen and remains ahead in 11th place. Chris, though, still trying to fight this one. And fair play to him. Still going for it. But no room there. And there is Galloway on the medium tyres just having a look as well. So Lorenzo leads then by 8 tenths from Efretabone. Now that Bumblebee is cleared out the way, Williams driver can try and catch this Red Bull if he can.
Yeah, and that's a really big hit for Bumblebee. Saying he would want to be fighting for this championship towards the later rounds of this championship, then this could be one of them races that got away from him.
Absolutely. We're watching two battles here. Lorenzo once again trying to pull out the slipstream of Efretabone there, and I saw Sprunky having a wobble on the exit of turn, I think 12 or 13, and round the outside goes KTM Sweden, goes for the switchback move here, and that is a fairly straightforward pass there for the Mercedes driver and up into the podium places, as there is always Rick, who had a great qualifying, and that has brought out the virtual safety car. Now that is interesting.
Yeah, Hero Freefall pitted just on that, so he's going to get a free pit stop effectively.
Chris pits as well for Aston Martin. And that is, what is that? That's medium tyres going on, so possible two-stop strategy there. Bumblebee pits as well again.
Yeah, Hero Freefall got a completely free pit stop.
That's perfect. That is and this is the thing I mentioned in qualifying earlier, just how important these virtual safety cars and safety cars will be. Just to, they're just cheap pit stops, and on this track, they're really good.
Yeah. There'll be a lot of drivers out there hoping for these right now.
Well,
picked up a penalty for speeding drive-through.
I think CJ Butch just got one as well, and he did. And that free pit stop for Chris, well, sadly for him, is, well, kind of null and void, really, because he's going to have to go back into the pits again.
Yeah, that free pit stop was repaid by taking a 22-second penalty by going back through the pit lane. So, that didn't really work out for Chris there. That's a shame.
Hugely disappointing there. Lorenzo has just lost a place as well to KTM Sweden, I think. Down in third place. You can see how close it is. And Lorenzo struggles there. And there, that's Sprunky going through. Has Lorenzo's not disconnected, has he? Because he's showing ghosted.
He might have.
That is a huge, huge problem then. As into the pits then, someone darted in. That looks like the Ferrari of Richie coming in. Where is Lucchesi at the moment? Lucchesi currently in 7th behind the other Ferrari.
He's not made any progress in the last 5 laps. I've been riding on board with him all race, and just to see what the fight back would look like. But he's kind of stalled out behind the Ferrari again, so unless he gets a bit of a pace advantage on these soft runners now, I think he's a little bit stuck for pace in the dirty air.
Lorenzo loses out though to Sprunky, and this plays right into Lucchesi's hands here. Chris does serve his drive-through penalty. CJ Butch, we're waiting for him to serve his as well. That's a huge shame for Lorenzo, unless Lorenzo's just struggling for pace all of a sudden, perhaps. We've got a yellow flag
I think
somewhere.
He may have hit the cliff.
That is CJ Butch then for Alpha. Alpha's struggling, and I think Mercedes just had a moment as well. That might be,
Bumblebee. And
that is Bumblebee. Huge, huge shame for him. Great qualifying.
Lucchesi on Rumpelfugler.
Yep, that looks much, much closer. Lorenzo has rejoined, so he does come back into this race. I'm just keeping an eye on the battle for second place. This is Sprunky coming back on Sweden, but goes too deep. And Sprunky, I'll have to try again. There goes Lucchesi on the Ferrari, but he lost the back end coming out of the exit of turn 14. But just has enough to keep ahead. And
oh, good catch.
Oof. Well, it's a good catch, but Vexter will be very interested in that. But not is he ahead? No, he's not. But we are starting to see.
What's really important here is Lucchesi's not pulling away from Vexter. And when these two pit, Vexter will have the quicker tyre next time round. So Lucchesi's now biggest opponent is the McLaren that's sitting 1 second behind him.
Yeah, so we were talking about these hard compound tyres. We didn't think they would have issues getting up to temperature. Vexter seems to have enough pace to get them working. I suppose the issue though is now that all these drivers are pitting for these soft tyres, it's going to be a different story now.
Yeah, a lot of people have opted for the hard tyre this time round, and it's quite interesting that the two Ferraris and the Alpine have, but the two Mercedes didn't.
Interesting. I've lost all my Delta times, by the way, so I don't know what these gaps are, unfortunately. On board then with Lucchesi, this is the Red Bull of Crago ahead. Medium versus medium tyres. You can see Crago harvesting his electrical energy. You can see that from the back red light. And under braking, Lucchesi just has much more confidence on the brakes than Crago does.
So Ephraim's the only car ahead going really long on these softs. He's going to cost himself maybe about 10 to 15 seconds in an undercut.
Absolutely. Lucchesi gets close. Not enough to get a move in. I thought he was going to stick his nose in there into turn 1, but nothing said yet. We've got a yellow flag in sector 3, but I can't see where that is. So not quite sure on that one.
I don't think that was for anything.
We've got
it was a predicted one.
Well, that is always Rick, who's just had another moment. This really has gone from bad to worse for the Haas driver.
Some great work by the Chinese marshals there, predicting the yellow flag.
Lucchesi very, very close now, almost pushing that Red Bull along. It's the equivalent of Gasly wanting that second Red Bull seat. And yeah, I didn't think.
That was cheeky.
Yeah, that's an airplane crash if you stick your nose into that corner there.
Stroll tried it a few years ago, and that put both cars in the gravel. So
I think I remember that. I think that was
watching that one.
I remember that one. Maybe. I think it was Esteban Ocon, wasn't it? And it was Lance Stroll. Somehow I have these.
In the Williams.
I have these useless facts from time to time. Lucchesi close and closer, and down the inside goes the AlphaTauri driver. Crago
Red Bull turned in on him a little bit there, but extra cautious.
Yeah, Craigo keeps ahead of the AlphaTauri for the time being. That's good defence there by Craigo, despite the fact he's got no battery, but I think this might be a much more straightforward pass here for the AlphaTauri. Chooses the inside line. That looks a lot more straightforward there. Craigo, I think, knew that fight was over. And Lucchesi then up into second place then.
I'm unsure of what Ephraim is doing. I think he's trying to extend to a one-stop, but in doing so has cost himself one stop.
It's a weird one because he's choosing track position over raw pace, I suppose, but that's the trade-off, I suppose, with that. I'm watching Vexter at the moment. He's now the next one to try and have a go on this Red Bull.
There's an Aston Martin round in the wall.
That is Chris, and that once again has brought out a virtual safety car. And
Chris qualified as well.
Chris tried to come back through the pit lane, and unsurprisingly, that's taken him out of the race. But if Efrita can get to the pit lane whilst this virtual safety car's out, that might be a cheap pit stop here.
Or a cheaper pit stop.
Yeah, cheaper pit stop. Depends how long this virtual safety car lasts for as well. So, just to run you through the order. Oh, well, never mind. That was quick. As always, Rick gets... Is that another drive-through penalty? Or is it... I don't think he got one previously.
Yeah, that's the second one.
Yeah, that's always Rick. Huge shame for him. And Efrita choosing this moment now to make his pit stop. We're not under the virtual safety car regulations. Virtual safety car conditions at the moment, but Lucchesi could be in trouble here because he's got a train of there's a Red Bull of Craigo trying to go round the outside, didn't have enough momentum, and there is Vexter having a wee little look as well. It almost runs into the back of the Red Bull there, but Galloway as well, we should mention.
When I was watching Lucchesi earlier, he didn't have an amazing pace. And I think that's what he's confirming here. The pace isn't blindingly quick, but it's consistent.
Yeah, great move by Sprunky there on Mark, round the outside of turn 1. Super little move there from the Aston Martin driver. Free fall next up on the road for him. Vexter getting very close here to this to Craigo as well.
Ephraim lost out to KTM Sweden in that pit stop phase.
Yeah, he's down in 10th place at the moment, but still ahead of Lorenzo. Down the inside there goes Galloway, and I thought that's a bit ambitious, but Galloway had enough braking power to stop that, but that would have been a bit of a mess for Vexter had Galloway committed to that move, but backed out of it.
Vexter for sure, and
Vexter didn't brake hard. Well, just didn't brake as much and has gone right into the back of the Red Bull. The Red Bull seems okay, but we know, of course, in this game, you can now get rear wing damage. Is Craigo's car okay? Well, more importantly, Vexter, goes down, pits now, and that has ruined his strategy completely.
Yeah, not ideal for Vexter to Vexter. Gonna fall a long way back and lose a lot of that advantage that he would have gained there. So it's now Lucchesi and Craigo for a possible win, maybe.
Potentially. Remember, of course, top 4 still must pit at this race. Everybody else, well, not everybody else. Marco in the AlphaTauri in 8th place still needs to make a second pit stop as well, but net race leader would be Sprunky, from what I understand. But of course, likelihood is they need to pit again. To Bone then.
Yeah, so I would say your net leader maybe be Richer.
Yeah, potentially. Watching to Bone at the moment, he is on the back of Marco at the moment. Marco's who's got DRS on KTM Sweden at the moment, so Williams driver
mediums. I think this might be rather easy.
We've got that I think is an Alpine, and that is Doomsray again. That's the second time this race he's made that, and that has brought out the virtual safety car, and that's not what Tabone wants, because he was in a position to try and overtake the AlphaTauri.
Lucchesi for 3 pit stops?
Possibly. Chooses
No.
to stay out. And Galloway does pit, though. Or no, doesn't. Apologies.
Sprunky maybe? I'm wondering who can use the virtual safety car here.
Doesn't look like so.
Doomsday uses it.
As well, understandable, because he's got no front wing. So, well, he gets himself a cheap pit stop to mitigate for his the spin. As there, once again, goes...
Not ideal for Ephraim, though, who was trying to pass Marco, and now he's going to have to wait another lap
and
behind the Alpha.
And Lorenzo is right all over him at the moment in the Red Bull. But yeah, that's a horrid place. It goes from the back straight where he would have passed him to now he's got to wait another lap and try and keep Lorenzo behind. As I thought once again Lorenzo was going to go for it down into turn 6, but once again trying to frighten the Williams driver perhaps. Galloway on the back of one Red Bull's under pressure, the other one's applying pressure because whilst Lorenzo's trying to get ahead to Bone, Grego's trying to keep Galloway behind.
Yeah, for sure, and I think Galloway's maybe gonna pass Craigo here. He's looked like he's had better pace, but these medium tyres don't have so long.
Another
penalty for always Rick as well.
Tabone just parked Marco. Down the inside goes Galloway. That seems a bit too late for me. And Craigo just slips right past there. That's a valiant move there by Galloway. And fair play, he went for it. The door was open, but just couldn't break enough as it stands as well. This is Marco losing out to Lorenzo now. Lorenzo up into 8th place on his to try and outscore or try and gain as many points as possible. But Lucchesi with a very comfortable 2.3 second gap out in front. Remember, of course, he does need to pit. So I'm just looking now as out of the race goes CJ Butch, and that is on the final corner. And I think Dim's Always Rick's just had a moment as well. Is that going to be a safety car? Is that going to be a virtual safety car? Doesn't look like it. Looks all okay for the time being. But I'm just thinking, if Lucchesi pits now, how long? What are we saying? A 20-second pit stop on this track?
He's about 12 seconds ahead of Ephraim. And that would be perfectly fine if we got a full safety car.
If we got a full safety car, yeah. The problem is if it's a genuine pit stop. If he pits now, so we've got a yellow flag for Always Rick again. If Lucchesi pits, he's coming out, I think, behind both Ferraris at the moment. That's not
Currently,
ideal at all.
Yes, but everyone else has got to pit again as well, so...
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, my apologies.
He only has 12 seconds to gain.
Yeah.
That's a little amount of time, saying you've got...
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt you. Galloway and Craigo have just made contact. Galloway, I think, finally got the move in on Craigo, and I don't know if there was contact or Galloway lost the back end. But that has hurt both drivers. Craigo pits immediately. Is there damage on on that Red Bull? I think there is.
The Sauber is fine, so that would lead to maybe a Craigo mistake?
Not 100% sure. Missed it just about, but Effort to Bohm has got ahead of Galloway now, and Galloway looks slow off those corners. I think he's got damage somewhere because he is super slow all of a sudden off these corners. And it's Lorenzo down the inside into turn 6. That move is a bit more straightforward, but Galloway's still coming back on this as well. But I think that fight is well and truly over there, but not 100% sure what happened in that incident.
No, and the 13 seconds that he lost to Lucchesi now is half a pit stop. That really rules him out of being in the running for this race.
All of this is just beneficial for Lucchesi here. That's another 2 drivers taken out of contention. Lucchesi now has a 7-second gap to Sprunky now. Watching here the battle for 12th and 13th. We've got a yellow flag, and I think that's for Galloway again. So Galloway's had a moment, and there that was Bumblebee passing the Ferrari there of Fujili. That made sense. Medium run, 8-lap mediums against 6-lap hard tyres. Fairly straightforward move there for the Mercedes driver, but free fall now is on the back of KTM Sweden. This is the battle for the final place on that podium. Freefall's had a very good week so far this week. Podium earlier this week, and now looking to try and get a second podium. What I found interesting, nobody's got time penalties yet.
No, and ISRL Freefall is also on older tyres, on 9-lap old mediums to the 7-lap of KTM Sweden's. Really shows his pace as we got a Haas round.
As always, Rick out of this race. It's kind of gone from bad to worse, really, for him, and that ends a miserable day. Such a good performance in qualifying, but the race has gone, well, head over heels, really.
Yeah, that's one way to put it for him. He'll be wanting to forget about China and really focus on going back to Canada and getting a great head on his shoulders for next race.
Beneficial for having that 1 week off to try and recharge the batteries then. Freefall then, looking to try and pass Sweden already weaving to try and break the toe here. Don't want to move too much here.
If we want to call this a pre-season break or a mid-season break, I think Lucchesi will look back on it as a very positive start to the season. It couldn't have gone much better.
Yeah.
And I think people like always Rick and Chris will maybe look at that and go, yeah, that was a rough start, but recharge the batteries and come back with a lot of fight in us.
Yeah, that's the great thing, just having that little momentary time to recharge, and especially if you're not having a good, whether you're having a good or bad weekend, it's sometimes great just to have that week to recharge there. We saw Aizen passing Galloway. Galloway's going nowhere except backwards. Remember, of course, he's got a pit, as does Lucchesi. It's rather interesting. They're continuing to go on this lap. They've been on the tyres now 15 laps. I wonder if any of the medium runners, like Sprunky or Sweden, for example, do you think any of them would try pushing to the end of this race, perhaps? Or is that just crazy?
The medium tyres you only do 16 laps.
Okay.
So, anything past that, you're into very, very questionable territory. So, personally, I would probably pick no for a set of mediums.
Yeah, absolutely. Potentially also threaten the undercut on Lucchesi as well. That could be a potential strategy. But Lucchesi's got a very high, very advantageous gap at the moment. Don't think he'll be under threat from anybody, as long as he pits in a good amount of time. Freefall still stuck behind this Mercedes at the moment. Can't find a way through, and he spun round. As I think as well, as did a Sprunky as well. So both of them, both the Aston Martin and the McLaren, pirouetting round in turn 14. And both of them have lost the podium. That's put Tabone back into the podium places. And Freefall pits.
Yeah, and that makes it a lot easier to see what Lucchesi has to actually do to keep this lead now.
Absolutely. 11 seconds now to his closest rival. That's KTM Sweden, the Mercedes at the moment. Lorenzo in fourth, and he's started to drop back from the Williams. He was once within that DRS window. Now stuck behind him. F1 Richie is still stuck behind Marco in the Alpha Tauri. Remember, of course, Marco still needs to pit this lap as well. One of 3 drivers that have not made a pit stop yet. Bumblebee pitted and has come back onto the track, albeit in last place.
Is Lucchesi going to go for a one stop and go onto the soft tyres?
Possibly. But do you want to make such a call like that? Do you want to make a huge risk? It does look like that's going to be the case, but what did the soft runners do?
I wouldn't want to risk the puncture, but if you're on the soft tyres, it's going to make it a lot easier to gain that time back.
I wonder if Lucchesi comes back out. He's lost a little bit of time on this lap. He's still going as well. So he will go for another lap, as we've got a yellow flag in Sector 3, and I think that was Vexter having a moment again. Huge shame for him. I would have loved to see where his strategy would have put him in this race, but And he spun again and has hit Doomsray as well. The tyres overheated, and that's hurt both drivers.
Is Lukeshi holding out for a safety car, maybe?
Possibly. That would basically make his life much, much easier if he gets that, but Vexter gets a 5-second time penalty for that collision. Effort to Bohm is right on the back now of KTM Sweden. I think Luchesi's starting to lose pace a little bit now. That gap is slowly but surely coming down, albeit it's still 11 seconds. So it's not like Luchesi's in the danger zone at the moment.
No, but if he wants to make the positions back after this pit stop, he needs to not lose much more than the 11 seconds.
Yeah, absolutely. Tabone right on the back of the Mercedes now. Mercedes and a Williams together. I'm getting Imola flashbacks all of a sudden.
So Luchesi's now done one lap over what the mediums recommend you can do on them, so any puncture now wouldn't be a huge surprise. So let's see if he boxes in this lap. He doesn't.
Tabone ahead now of, or well, I thought was ahead. Has he got the traction to come out? No, he doesn't. And KTM Sweden just remains ahead there. As into the pit, well, Sweden pits. And that, well, as Sprunky, well, there's our first time penalty, as we say it. Sprunky the first to get a 3-second time penalty, but I was going to mention Luchesi lost 0.4 of a second on that lap before they started fighting. So the pace really has started to drop now for Luchesi. And there's going to have to be, there's going to have to be a moment where he does need to make that pit stop.
Well, he's got a pit to get off the mediums. He can't win the race on the mediums. So, is he hoping Ephraim has to pit again?
Potentially, but Luchesi's just done 18 laps. In theory, Tabone could just go to the end of the race if he wanted to. Given his tyres are 8 laps old, of course he won't have the track position, but
because I can only help but feel that
oh no, apologies. I saw Vexter out and I thought that was going to be
right now for Luchesi would be disastrous. It would probably spit him in the wall.
Yeah.
With the new delamination tyre physics, it makes it very hard to drive the car in any direction bar straight. So let's see what he does. He pits
Luchesi does. He does indeed pit. I saw a yellow flag then. I thought, was that the calling that Luchesi needed? But it was Vexter who retired in the pit lane. Let's see what he goes on to then. So, is it going to be soft tyres? 9 laps to do. It is soft tyres. So, remember, of course, he didn't do a lot of laps in qualifying. He had a bunch of fresh sets to utilise. And where does he come back out then? I think he'll come out. Will he come out ahead? No, he won't. He will come out just behind the Ferrari. So he's got a lot of work to do, I'll be honest. If he wants to win this.
He's got about maybe 15 seconds to find, but shouldn't be too hard. The tyres on ahead of him aren't particularly new.
Yeah, well, we're assuming, of course, that the top 3 can indeed stay out. Because we don't know what the tyre wear was there. As
Bumblebee in the wall.
Yeah, Bumblebee final corner. And that's a long way from home if he's damaged that front wing. Huge. It's going, well, from bad to worse for Luchesi at the moment. Sprunky's got Lorenzo now behind him. And I suppose the thing for Luchesi is, I don't know if the win is on, but I guess the crucial thing for him is to finish ahead of Lorenzo because that's his main championship rival at the moment.
Well, we watched Ricciardo do something very similar with not so much more laps than this left, so I don't believe the win is off the card, especially with only maybe 10 seconds to now find.
Yeah, well, that's one car cleared. That is Richie passed in that Ferrari and up into 4th place for the AlphaTauri driver. So what are we looking at? It is 10 seconds up to the lead. Remember, of course, Sprunky has got that 3-second time penalty. to go, and Lorenzo is still being stuck behind this Aston Martin at the moment, and that doesn't help him, because what he would love to do is get ahead of this Aston Martin and clear off the distance before Lucchesi catches them, because that gap is starting to come down fairly quickly, actually.
He gained a second in the first corner.
And there's an interesting one there. That's Marco setting the fastest lap in the sister AlphaTauri there. That's good signs for Lucchesi then, if he can start to catch these cars ahead. So, you know what? I should listen to you more often. I don't think that... the more you've said it now, the more I'm convinced a win is not off the cards here.
No. As long as he can carry on, hitting qualifying lap after qualifying lap for at least 4 laps, he will arrive on the back of F-Rome relatively quickly.
I suppose the only downside to that, though, if you push too hard, the tyres won't exactly like it, especially the soft tyres here, so...
He's got a 10 lap advantage.
Yeah.
Then medium should be shot.
Definitely. Virtually, next one to get a 3-second time penalty. Lorenzo's still a little too far.
2 seconds this lap.
Yeah, gap down to 5.3 at the moment. Craigo has got KTM Sweden for company.
Spunky pits.
Sprunky does pit. That's another driver out of the way. Lucchesi now moves up into the podium places. And there's a 32.4 for him. Now, interesting there, if Sprunky has pitted, can Lorenzo now go to the end of this race?
Yeah, that would be a very interesting question, but I don't know if Lorenzo will, because I know a 4 laps doesn't sound like a lot, but when your tyres are dead and you've got Lucchesi coming at you at 2 seconds a lap, that's an intimidating challenge for anybody.
Absolutely. You can see that gap just starting to close at the moment. Sprunky on the back now of Fugile. We did see him pit earlier. He's got a fair bit of ground to make up on his end. 7 laps to go in this race. We haven't had a safety car yet for the first time in the last few races. But commentator's curse has been a thing the last 2 races as well. So, looks like we're getting a safety car in these next 7 laps, from what it seems. Sprunky.
Yeah, and now Lucchesi is within 6 seconds of the leader, so that really shows you the pace that he's carried after that pit stop.
Absolutely. Sprunky then on the back. This is soft tyres, fresh soft tyres against 14-lap-old hard tyres. And this with DRS, that doesn't seem like a fairly difficult challenge. Sprunky well and truly clear into turn 14 and up into 7th place. Craigo is the next one on his list. That gap between Lucchesi and Lorenzo down to 2.7 seconds. Remember, of course, these are the 1 and 2 in the championship. Meanwhile, Tabone has just gained 4 tenths on Lorenzo on this lap as well. On the last lap, sorry, I apologise. KTM Sweden is going backwards. Huge shame for Ferrari. Sorry, no.
He shot himself in the foot. He has no battery.
Ah, interesting. So is he relying on the natural grip of the tyres to give him that launch off the corners, maybe?
Yeah, he's on about single figures of battery now, so if F-Rome has any pace whatsoever in the straights, I think he may run out of battery and find it hard to do the overtake.
Lucchesi is now well within DRS range. I was saying he was catching him, I didn't realise it would be that quick. But here comes then. And there you can see the flashing red lights there confirming what Koala said. No battery left over. So will he need to find an alternate route around this, around the Red Bull? Down.
He can't waste any more time though. He's got about 4 seconds to F-Rome. And he's not going to continue gaining at a second a lap.
Sprunky just ahead now of the sister Red Bull. Both Red Bulls here going backwards, unfortunately. And Lorenzo here, right on the back of the Red Bull. Doesn't go for the move into turn 6 here. Like you mentioned, the more time that Lucchesi stays behind Lorenzo, the more time it's giving for Tabone to just start to run away, if you like.
This could be the lap we talk about of the lap that cost Lucchesi the Chinese Grand Prix. The 4.5, 5 seconds is going to be hard to gain, so he really does need to pass this lap. This move is critical to Lucchesi's race.
Absolutely. Here they go then. Round 2. Has Lorenzo. Well, Lucchesi looks a lot closer here. Hasn't got the battery, potentially, but he will have DRS, and he's gaining. And he does get ahead now, and that is a crucial move now, and that will enable Lucchesi to go chase after the race leader, who is 5 seconds up the road. Lucchesi into second place.
Seconds.
So this will be very, very close at the moment. Marco, meanwhile, watching there, this is the battle for 10th place. They've got the same issue as well, those soft runners. And there goes Galloway. Down the inside and just backs out of it there. I think he knew that gap was closing there, and Marco remains ahead in 11th place. Lucchesi already taking a full second out of Tabone at the moment. Now I wonder here if Lorenzo... I'm still wondering whether Lorenzo will keep this up to the end of the race. Surely he's got to now at this rate, because...
At this point, there's no point.
Yeah.
He's got to go to the end, or he's not going at all.
He's in a very dangerous situation at the moment.
He's a lap over the expected live, so a puncture at any point would probably put him the same as it would have done with Lucchesi in the wall.
Absolutely. And this is crunch time for Lucchesi as well, because there's still a 4-second gap to catch. He'll have 3 laps at the end of this lap. And then we've got to remember, he's not only got to catch him, he's then got to pass them as well. It's one thing to catch, it's another thing to pass them.
Yeah, I think he's not really gained since he took the half a second out of him at the start, so Lucchesi's really... Oh, Lorenzo around. Lorenzo backwards.
That is a huge shame, and that is the problem. 17 lap medium tyres, they may not be punctured, but they're certainly not going to be in a great condition. And there is Richie right behind to try and punish that mistake. That's not going to help with the tyres at all, especially since he needs to nurse them to the end.
No. That's not very good for Lorenzo. This could really put his race at risk now of even finishing.
Absolutely. You can see Richie now is right on the back then of the Red Bull. That's not a mistake Lorenzo needed to make, because remember, of course, they overheat the tyres completely. And I think Lucchesi's attack for the race leaders has been silenced. That's the gap is not closing at the moment. Lucchesi needs, I think, Tabone to make a mistake here, or his tyres to go out. But at the moment, I think Lucchesi's aggression has been slowly quietened down, I think. And I think Lucchesi has now lost the pace here.
Yeah. I think them soft tyres was only going to last so long. He needed to actually be on the back of him now.
Yeah. Well, we saw I think at the earlier stages, those who started on the softs did about 6 laps or so before their pace slowed down. There goes Sprunky, and that's on Aizen, and up into 5th place.
Sprunky for P2, maybe?
Well, remember, he's got that 3-second time penalty to implore as well. He's down in 5th at the moment. 2 laps to go. That's a huge margin to ask for there. Lucchesi has brought the gap down slightly, but it's still not enough. 10th quicker that lap. It is starting to drop now, and I wonder if Tabone's tyres are starting to go now.
Yeah, that is a good chance. I'm riding on board with Lorenzo currently, just to see if these tyres will make it to the end on 19 laps, because that's a very long distance for a set of medium tyres around this Chinese Grand Prix.
Yeah, and especially with that spin as well, overheating the back end of the car as well. That will be, if he does bring this in, that's a well-deserved podium in my opinion. For that. But Tabone been on pole right at the start. He's had a bit of had to work a bit to get this pole position or to keep the lead of this race. But if he can but he's got one more lap to go once he crosses the line. The gap remaining at 3.7 seconds at the moment. Not really much there. And we're about to have Lucchesi's hat-trick of victories. They're not going to be a quadruple after this race if things remain the way they are.
Yeah, for sure, and he's been silenced by none other than our very own Ephraim, so that's really quite a surprise. I didn't think it would have been Ephraim to take the first win off him.
Do you think Lucchesi will be kicking himself? Because remember, when qualifying, he chose to start on medium tyres. He chose to basically forgo that track position. Do you think he'll be kicking himself and thinking, you know what, I should have started a bit higher on the grid, or will he be happy with P2? Because I still think P2 from P15
the one
is
stop
solid.
Worked really well for him. I think his only kick would have been he didn't do a better lap on the mediums.
Yeah, absolutely. And that gap has started to come down now. Lucchesi has dropped it to 3 seconds. So Tabone needs to make sure he doesn't get a 3-second time penalty, because he still could be at risk here. But at the moment, this is looking perfect for the Williams driver. Lorenzo still in third place. But at the moment, Tabone looks unstoppable as he comes through the final corner. Lucchesi's hat-trick of victories comes to an end. The Williams driver of Ephraim Tabone wins the Chinese Grand Prix for Williams. Lucchesi comes home to finish in second place. Lorenzo just about holding on to that. And there the Aston Martin of Sprunky. Is he going to get ahead of Ritchie as well? And does so. But sadly, his 3-second time penalty will drop him back down, unfortunately. And he'll drop to 6th place. Ritchie in 4th, ahead of Aizen, ahead of Sprunky. Freefall comes home to finish in 7th place, ahead of Crago, ahead of KTM Sweden. Fugile will drop down to 12th after his 3-second penalty. Galloway in 10th. Marco in 11th. Fugile in 12th. Bumblebee will finish in 13th. He has Doomsday. He's got Doomsday behind him, but with that time penalty, it's going to be 13th and 14th for the Mercedes and Alpine, respectively.
And Lorenzo, 21 laps on a set of mediums.
Fair play to him. He actually did make it work. I'd give him driver of the day just purely for that. Lucchesi, driver of the day. Started, of course, from 15th on the grid, all the way up to 2nd place. And he does extend his lead in the championship. But it isn't him on the top step of the podium for the first time this season.
Yeah, and as we go into the 1-week break, I think he can really be proud of what he's done here and look back and say, well, I won the first 3, and then at the 4th I got a 2nd place. He's looking very much unstoppable this season.
Absolutely. 3 out of 4 isn't so bad. So just to remind you then of the runnings, Tabone wins the race from Lucchesi, who does take the fastest lap as well, and an additional couple of points for him. Lorenzo in 3rd place, completing the podium, like we mentioned, 21 laps on those medium tyres, incredibly impressive. Ritchie in 4th, ahead of Aizen, Sprunky, Freefall, Crago, Sweden, Galloway, and Marco in 11th, ahead of Fugile, Bumblebee, Doomsray for Alpine. We lost from this race, always Rick, CJ Butch, and ISRL Chris from this race. But that's it for the first part of this season. We, as Koala mentioned, there is a week break before we come back to Canada in a fortnight or so. Another pretty crazy track. I'm expecting a lot of time penalties, and probably another very chaotic race.
Yeah, for sure, and be sure to come back and join us as we try to see if Ephraim can take the fight to Lucchesi, and can Lorenzo start getting on top of the title fight as well with Richie.
Absolutely. We will be back then in a fortnight. Thank you very much for joining us. Ephraim Tabone is your race winner. It is Lucchesi who maintains his lead in the championship. But will it all be the same when we return to Canada in a fortnight's time? Take care.